Welcome, and thank you for joining the Florida Department of Transportation District 4 in this virtual public meeting for the US1 Bridge Replacement Project. The following presentation will provide you with information on the upcoming improvements that include replacing the US1 Bridge, improving intersections and making minor repairs to the alternate A1a bridge. You will find out what to expect during construction, including the project schedule and traffic impacts. But first, we will introduce the project team, go over the meeting format, and the rules of engagement. Following the presentation, project representatives will be available during a comment period to answer pertinent questions regarding the project. Please meet our project representatives who will be addressing your comments and questions after the presentation. Bodler Bartholomew is the FDOT project manager. Virgil Visaggi, Scott Case, and Tony Grau are members of the team that will be overseeing the contractor on behalf of the department. Angel Gardner is the community outreach specialist who will provide ongoing information to the public on the project's progression. Also with us tonight is Bing Wang, FDOT's design project manager. Mike Salino and Sybil Bayard, the engineers of record. Steve Hedge with the design team, and Kyle Humphreys, the contractor's project manager for this project. Here are a few items to be aware of regarding the meeting format. The Florida Department of Transportation is providing multiple opportunities for the public to receive information and provide input. A hybrid model is being used for all public meetings that consist of both a virtual and face-to-face component. An in-person meeting will be held Wednesday, September 29th from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Jupiter Community Center. There will be 2 presentations tonight, with each followed by a question and answer period. We are using the GoToWebinar meeting platform for this meeting. There is no cost to the public to log in or dial in to participate in the meeting. On your computer or device screen, you should see something that looks like this in the upper right corner. To listen to the meeting, your computer or device speakers are selected by default. If you prefer to listen by phone, select telephone in the audio pane of the control panel and dial in using the information displayed. This virtual public meeting is being recorded. If you experience technical difficulties, please contact GoToWebinar support at 1-833-851-8340. All attendees will remain muted throughout the meeting. Attendees are also welcome to submit any questions or comments using the platform's chat box at any time, and a member of the team will respond during the question and answer period. Please use the raise hand button to request to speak. The moderator will read the questions and comments in the order in which they are received. Please remember to limit your feedback to the subject project. Project representatives may not be able to fully address questions or comments regarding other topics or projects. Public notice for this virtual public meeting, including information on how to access the meeting platform, was provided in letters to property owners and tenants in the project area, on social media feeds, on the district's website, and in the Florida Administrative Register. The Florida Department of Transportation complies with various non-discrimination laws and regulations, including Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Public participation is solicited without regard to race, color, national origin, age, sex, religion, disability, or family status. Persons wishing to express their concerns relative to FDOT compliance with Title VI may do so by contacting FDOT District 4 Title VI Coordinator Sharon Singhayan at 954-777-4190 or sharon.singhayan@dot.state.fl.us. Or they may contact FDOT State Title VI Coordinator Jacqueline Paramore at 850-414-4753 or jacqueline.paramore@dot.state.fl.us. The existing US1 bridge was constructed in 1958. It is being replaced to address structural deficiencies, meet current state standards, and to provide safe passage for pedestrians and cyclists. The project limits are from County Road A1a to County Road 707 Beach Road and include the alternate A1a bridge over the Loxahatchee River and surrounding intersections. The project will begin in September 2021 and is anticipated to be completed in 2026. The bridge will be closed for approximately 20 months, beginning in spring 2023, to complete most of the required work. Intersection improvements and the installation of traffic management devices will be completed along the Detour route prior to the bridge closure. The contractor building the bridge is Johnson Brothers Corporation. The estimated cost of the project is $122 million. To limit the duration of bridge closure, FDOT is providing cash incentives to the contractor to end the detour in less than 20 months and open one lane of traffic in each direction on the new bridge. The contractor also faces disincentives if the detour exceeds 20 months. In addition, no excuse bonuses are available to the contractor to open 2 lanes of traffic in each direction by November 2024 and to complete the project within the original allotted time. The US1 Bridge Replacement Project consists of replacing the 4-lane drawbridge and including sidewalks and bike lanes in each direction. Improvements also include installing intelligent transportation system technology to manage traffic flow. New decorative lighting and drainage will be added. Signage and pavement markings will be updated. Minor repairs will occur on the alternate A1a bridge over the Loxahatchee River. The proposed bridge will feature fewer intermediate piers. This will provide an elegant, open, and cleaner appearance with less visual obstructions of the channel and the surrounding area. Fewer bridge piers will help to improve channel flow and reduce erosion. The new bridge will provide improved navigational clearances at the channel with 125 feet of horizontal clearance and up to 42 feet of vertical clearance. The higher vertical clearance will result in an approximately 44% reduction in bridge openings, resulting in improved traffic flow on US1. The new bridge also will feature a concrete bridge deck to reduce traffic noise. Protected pedestrian walkways with overlooks will be included, connecting the Riverwalk to the Jupiter Inlet Lighthouse and Museum. A new observation deck will be constructed under the replacement bridge. Here is the typical section of the proposed replacement bridge. It will consist of 2 11-foot travel lanes in each direction and 8-foot sidewalks and 7-foot bike lanes in both directions. Pedestrians will be separated from traffic with permanent concrete barriers. The US1 bridge will be closed for approximately 20 months, beginning in spring 2023, with traffic detoured to alternate A1a. Lane closures may occur 9:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. Sunday through Saturday on US1, Indiantown Road, alternate A1a Beach Road, and Old Dixie Highway. Access to adjacent properties will be maintained. Pedestrian and bicycle access will be maintained along the detour route. Marine traffic will be maintained through the navigable waterway. Channel restrictions may occur. Here is an overview of the intersection improvements that will occur along the detour route prior to the bridge closure. Intersection improvements will occur at US1 and State Road 706, Indiantown Road, alternate A1a and State Road 706, Indiantown Road, and at alternate A1a and Old Dixie Highway. Traffic management devices will be installed to actively manage traffic and maintain mobility. Permanent intersection improvements will occur at alternate A1a and Old Dixie Highway that consist of shifting the intersection to the southwest, lengthening the left turn lane from northbound alternate A1a to northbound Old Dixie Highway, and adding a traffic signal. The temporary intersection improvement at alternate A1a Beach Road and US1 consists of adding a second right turn lane from southbound US1 to westbound alternate A1a. A temporary third left turn lane will be added from northbound US1 to westbound Indiantown Road at US1 and Indiantown Road. The temporary intersection improvements at Indiantown Road and alternate A1a consist of adding a second left turn lane from southbound alternate A1a to eastbound Indiantown Road, as well as having two right turn lanes from westbound Indiantown Road to northbound alternate A1a. Active traffic management and monitoring will occur along the detour route with the installation of intelligent transportation system devices. These enhancements will allow FDOT and Palm Beach County to monitor traffic 24/7. The ITS system should help improve travel times, alleviate congestion, allow real-time adjustments to traffic signal timing, and allow advance notification to the public of traffic delays. Prior to the US1 Bridge Detour, minor repairs will be made to the alternate A1a bridge over the Loxahatchee River. There will be no impact to marine traffic during the repairs. Lane closures may occur. In coordination with the town of Jupiter and other agencies, specific provisions and protocols will be followed during construction to protect significant cultural resources, such as the Jupiter Inlet Lighthouse and Museum. Museum operations, including museum artifacts, will be relocated and will remain open to the public. Mangrove forests and seagrass beds will be protected, along with endangered species within the project limits. To protect sea turtles, work zone lighting will be shielded to avoid illuminating areas outside the construction area. The lighting also will be directed away from the beach. The estimated project schedule is as follows. In Phase 1, pre-detour construction will begin. In Phase 2, the detour begins and the majority of bridge construction occurs to have at least one lane open in each direction. Phase 3 consists of constructing the remainder of the bridge, and Phase 4 involves restoring the intersections to their pre-detour conditions. Advance notice will be provided of the bridge closure and detour. Detour and work zone signs will be placed north and south of the work zone. Residents should anticipate increased noise levels during pile driving activities. The Town of Jupiter noise ordinance will be followed. Nearby structures will be monitored for vibration and settlement. There will also be selective tree removal within the project corridor. The observation deck will be closed during construction. Public outreach will be ongoing throughout construction. Please contact Community Outreach Specialist Angel Gardner with any questions or concerns you may have. Project updates will be provided via email and social media. All project updates will be posted to the project website and provided to city officials. Residents will be invited to have coffee with the project team throughout construction to get their questions answered about the project. Ongoing coordination will occur with Jupiter, Tequesta, and Jupiter Inlet Colony officials, community groups, and property owners. At this moment, we will proceed with the question and answer portion of the meeting. To submit questions and comments, please use the GoToWebinar question panel. As a reminder, please limit your queries to the subject project.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Just a quick reminder, my name is Angel Gardner. I will be the Community Outreach Specialist on this project. And in just a couple of minutes, we're going to go ahead and jump into our question and answer portion of the meeting. But before we do that, we want to go ahead and recognize any elected officials who might be with us this evening. If you're an elected official, please go ahead and put your name and your position and the area you represent in the question box so we can make sure to acknowledge you. I also want to point out for everyone that there are some handouts. If you look in your panel, there are some handouts available. You'll be able to see a project sheet about the project. There's also a handout regarding this presentation. In addition to that, we have some renderings of what that new bridge is going to look like. It's going to be pretty impressive. And so with us tonight, we have Molly Young. She's a council member from the village of Tequesta. Thank you, Ms. Young, for joining us tonight. Okay. And with that, we are going to go ahead and start with our first question. And that is, this is from Mr. Gonzalez. He's asking, what about the southbound movement from Egan Fuski? I hope I'm pronouncing that the name of the street correctly. So this is one of the streets that is a side street on alternate A1a. So Mr. Gonzalez wants to know about being able to turn southbound on alternate A1a. I'm assuming during the detour. Virgil, Scott, can you address that?
Yeah, Angel, thank you. I'll have Scott address it. He'll be in charge of the roadway aspects for the job.
Yeah, thanks, Virgil. So with the detour, we've done improvements that we're making through the detour route. We're adding some turn lanes at the major intersections of alternate A1A and Indiantown Road, US1 and alternate A1A, and Indiantown and US1 to accommodate the turn movements for the anticipated queue, backups to get traffic through the detour and keep the traffic flowing. Part of the big improvement along alternate A1A and throughout the detour is to put in additional devices that will be connected to the traffic management center that will be monitoring the traffic through the detour zone, so that monitors, at the TNC can detect any congestion backup on the detour route and make the necessary adjustments for signal timing of that nature in real time as they see congestion backup as a result of additional traffic going through the detour. So with that, I mean, that's part of the major improvements and an effort, a joint effort between FDOT and Palm Beach County to not just put, our typical detour signs that you see in construction, but to also make it interactive with the traffic management centers to do live monitoring of the traffic and be able to make changes to signal timing in real time in anticipation of these queues. And that's in an effort to help all turn movements through the detour and from the local businesses and residences to access local roads that are in the detour as well.
And then during the detour itself, we will be driving the detour, everybody from my staff, and we'll be looking for areas of congestion that are concurrent or not concurrent, but continuously happening. And we'll take the necessary steps to try to alleviate.
And make them.
All right, so thank you for that, Virgil and Scott. The next question is pretty much similar to that, which is asking about what is being done to address the road access for Old Jupiter Beach Road to alternate A1a. Turning south onto alternate A1a is already difficult, and the additional traffic will make it even more dangerous. So this was also another one of the side streets on alternate A1a. This is from Ms. Talty. So similar response, I think, is what we're going to be providing with that answer as well.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, I mean, I think we addressed it with the additional turn lanes that we're putting in to help the flow of traffic get through the detour. The additional devices that we're putting in to help monitor the traffic and adjust signal timing in real time there to help traffic move through. And then our daily monitoring, of the site itself. If we see things that just aren't flowing, even with all these improvements in, we can take necessary actions with the traffic management center to suggest any possible remedies or improvements to what we're already installed.
Yeah, great. So we'll be continuing to monitor it basically and make sure that we're doing what we can to assist as much as possible to help those residents on those side streets. So thank you very much, you guys, for that response. Another question we have here is from Andrew Smith. Why is the design of the bridge pylon so diagonal? So it's a design question we have here.
So why is it more oblong instead of a squared look? Is that what he's asking?
Let's see if he responds. Yeah.
I'm guessing he's referring to the aesthetics of the bridge.
The aesthetic of the bridge.
Mike, Steve, you guys on? Can you answer this question?
Sure. So if I understand the question properly, diagonal was the word used, is that correct?
Yes.
So assuming he's referring to, questioner is referring to relative to the channel, right?
He's asking about the channel, yes.
So can you bring up, let's bring up a slide. Let's give an opportunity for some pictorial reference here, if you can. So it must be relative to something something shown in the virtual presentation. So let's have a look to see what might be a question. So the new
Well,
bridge.
Mike, I think you're referring to the intermediate piers. So if you pull up on the attachment, the rendering, then you could talk to that.
Yes, I have it up on my other screen.
So he has a follow-up question as well, Mr. Smith, are there any underwater obstructions between pylons that would prohibit navigation outside the channel?
So
There we go.
The U.S. Coast Guard encourages to use the navigable channel. One of the things that's going to occur prior to the detour phase and prior to demolition of the existing bridge is to remove some of the old remnants of the pre-existing bridge that might be still there, or whatever else is at the bottom of the channel. Our team did a bathymetric survey during the design phase, identified some of the objects that might be on the bottom of the channel and the river in general in the vicinity of the bridge, and those items will be removed and cleaned up. So again, the navigable channel is really what the vessels should be using to pass through. But to answer your question, the channel will be, debris will be cleaned up from the bottom of the channel.
Now, during construction, we have divers going in the water, I want to say in about 2 weeks, just to verify everything that's in the water, so we can tell the contractor to remove it. And then at the end of the project, we're going to have divers again to ensure that there's nothing remaining in the water or that the contractor did not drop anything. So to answer the question, there'll be nothing preventing boaters from going outside of the designated channel by the bridge underneath one of the intermediate piers.
Okay, and I just want to jump in there. And I think the first part of the question is referring to the orientation of the piers.
Right.
That's due to channel flow. So they're sloped in the direction of the flow of channel to improve the flow of the water. I think that's what the first question is referring to.
Yeah, I realize that now, Steve. Thanks. I think the questioner was asking about why is it slanted or the angle of the piers in line with the flow of the channel, and that's exactly the purpose. That's to improve the flow, and it's a hydraulic design, improved design. It's a goal that you want to do with a new bridge design. And the piers are rounded for your information, just to help with any vessel collision design that's in the new bridge. The rounded edge gives it a better vessel collision, be able to withstand vessel collision better and protect the vessel and the bridge.
Okay. I hope that answered your question, Mr. Smith. Let us know, and if we need to come back, we'll come back to you. But thank you for those responses, you guys. Okay. So another question we have here from, give me a second, it's a little slow. Okay. This is from Kathleen Hillman. And her question is, how will boat traffic be affected during construction? It's a very good question. We have a lot of boat activity occurring out there.
Yeah, I'll take that question, Angel. Boat traffic is going to be allowed to go through the channel. We can't block the channel. There will be restrictions at certain times, but notifications will go out through the Coast Guard to notifying all the mariners of when these restrictions are. We do ask for you guys to be cautious. This is going to be an active work zone. We will have barges, cranes moving around during the whole entire life of the job.
Yeah, and just to add, I mean, per our Coast Guard permit, we have to maintain access through the channel at all times. But there will be certain times during the construction and when we're doing some testing or hanging some of the main pieces where we will have to restrict the channel access just during that operation when we're hanging it. But for the most part, during the life of the project, the channel has to, at least half of the channel has to be maintained operational for boating traffic to pass through at all times.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for that response. I also real quickly want to recognize Chip Block. He's the vice mayor for the Jupiter Inlet Colony. So Mr. Block, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Okay, so another question we have is from Lee Appleman. This question is, how will this project affect the town of Jupiter's project to redo Indiantown Road between A1a and US1? So I believe there's an upcoming Town of Jupiter project. Virg or Scott, can you address that?
Yes, the town actually has two upcoming projects, one on Indiantown Road and one on County Road A1a. Those projects are going to be started early next year based on our conversations with the town. They are supposed to be finished in early 2023. With the majority of their work by the time we get to our detour phase. There may be slight overlap, but it shouldn't affect the flow of traffic along Indiantown or through alternate A1a.
And I'm sure we'll be coordinating with the town as those projects are progressing.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for that. Our next question we have is from Sheldon Geweiser. Please excuse me if I pronounce your name incorrectly. But Sheldon asked, please tell us exactly what changes will occur on the entrance to 1000 North properties, including the condominiums and townhomes. What elevation changes will be made to the road and what will be done to improve the drainage? Yeah, I know that's a very important concern for the folks at Jupiter Harbor. Virgil, can you or Scott address that?
I'll let Scott address it.
Yeah, I'll take that. So while the Jupiter Bridge, the new bridge, will be raised, at its main span location, it will slope down, gradually back to grade, both the north and south sides. At 1000 North, the vertical change will be minimal there, but you will see an MSE wall from the landing going towards the bridge to address the rise. But at the entrance, to 1000 North, we should be back at grade by that point. And the drainage improvements that we're doing for the entire project are actually there to improve the water quality for the entire system and surrounding area. Because right now, currently, the water on the existing bridge, it drains through scuttlers that go right into the Loxahatchee River. And our drainage improvements that we're doing will capture that water from the bridge, from the traveling public, and it will route the water down to new drainage swales that will treat the water before it gets discharged back into the Loxahatchee River. So that's how we're improving water quality on the project through our new drainage improvements and addressing the vertical rise with the MSE walls and sloping it back down to grade. So I hope that answers, everybody's question.
Now, some of the improvements you will see at the entrance of Jupiter Harbor is we're going to re-signalize that intersection and put mast arms in. Visually, that's going to be the biggest thing you see. Plus, we're slightly changing the configuration on the west side to give it a protected right turn going northbound from County Road A1a.
Okay. So
East side, sorry.
Yeah, on the east side. Mm-hmm.
So there will be additional drainage put in next to Jupiter Harbor or close to Jupiter Harbor to that entrance. Is that correct?
We will be putting drainage structures along the west side of the roadway. There will be a small lineal pond closer to the Riverwalk, and there will be a larger pond on the opposite side of the roadway where most of the water will be routed to.
Okay. So he's wondering if that will improve their drainage in that area.
Yes.
It should.
Okay, there we go. All right. Thank you, guys. That's a good, very detailed question, very detailed response. Thank you so much. Okay, we have another question from Andrew Smith. And his question is, why was the decision made to close the bridge completely versus doing one side at a time? Very good question.
All right, so the reason we're closing the bridge completely is two reasons. Right-of-way constraints. We don't have enough right-of-way on the north side and the south side to divert the traffic to one side of the bridge safely. And the other one is the foundations of the existing Vascular pier. When we looked at having to cut the Vascular pier in half, it was the best engineering judgment with the soils out there that it was the risk was too high, basically. We couldn't guarantee that it would be structurally capable of holding the loads that we would have applied on it. And just to go further, the reason that you don't see an acro bridge or a temporary bridge like the other ones, some of the other projects throughout the county, is we don't have the right of way on the north side or the south side, again, to divert traffic to a temporary alignment. You have anything else?
No, that's it.
That's good. Thank you very much for that, Virgil. Next question we have is from, excuse me, give me a second, Suzanne Capodanno. And her question is, what are the plans for a wall or barrier next to the easternmost building at Jupiter Cove condos? Also, what will happen with the access road that goes east and west immediately outside the condo property?
Yeah, I'll take that. Next to the Jupiter Cove condos, as you come off the bridge, the reason why there's not a wall, a noise wall per se that you're asking about is because there's going to be an MSE wall that is there, taking the traffic down from the bridge at that point and coming down to grade. That in itself is acting as a noise protection along with the existing vegetation between the existing structure, which is basically getting put back in the same footprint. So between there and Jupiter Cove, that combination is why that there's no additional walls being built within that location. And it's mainly because it did not meet the requirements of the noise study to put any further noise abatement at that location.
Now, one of the improvements that DOT is doing that you may find significant or wonder how it relates to noise is putting that closed bridge deck on the vascular leaves. I mean, right now, if you're out there on your patio at the condo, you get a lot of noise from the open grade that's out there. We're going to close that off, and so you won't get that huge tire noise that you presently get, so it will actually be a reduction.
Okay. Thank you for that, you guys. So when you say MSE wall, Scott, what you mean is like a retaining wall, basically. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
So just in case, I believe what Ms. Cabadano was referring to is why isn't the MSC wall extended further south so they have some privacy between forward of the abutment, the bridge abutment, and their condos, which are located at the easternmost location in Jupiter Cove. So the MSC wall has to be designed to take tidal surge. So we had to pull back the abutment and the walls as far back as we can while still providing some privacy to the Jupiter Cove condominium. So there was a give and take there from a design standpoint and potential coastal surge situation.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification, Mike. Let's answer her follow-up question, and that was, what will happen with the access road that goes east and west immediately outside the condo property? That's that private road I believe she's referring to. There's a little road there.
So that's the entrance road, if I'm understanding. So we're not going to be doing any improvements to the entrance road. The entrance road is going to remain active at all times for people to access the businesses there, plus the condominium complex.
Okay. So the access won't change pretty much.
Correct.
Okay. So thank you very much for that response, you guys. I have another question here from Kathy Glass. And her question is, have you considered the fact that many Tequesta residents will go west down Country Club Road or County Line Road that both connect to Island Way to get out to I-95? That will cause backups at that intersection and through those communities. Who wants to tackle that question?
I'll let you start.
Was that north?
Yeah, they're going to County Line to Island Way to Indiantown Road.
Okay.
Taking that as the detour.
I-95.
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer it just by this way is that, traffic studies were done for this project that analyzed the traffic flows through the area and the detour route that was selected and to traverse, through the work zone was the best optimal solution based on the studies that were provided. along with the inclusion of the ITS devices that we're putting in to monitor the traffic to help improve the flow of the traffic through the detour route. So based on those studies and these additional improvements, along with the additional turn lanes to capture the anticipated increase in the traffic volume, that was enough to satisfy the traffic studies and the movements around the bridge construction through the proposed detour route.
Okay. Thank you for that, Scott. We have another question from Kyle Dose. His question is, Beach Road will open, this is the question, will Beach Road be open between Indiantown Road North to US1 during the detour?
Yeah, it's on the.
Yes,
So,
Beach Road will be open, will be open the whole entire time.
Mhm.
The closure starts on the north side.
So yes, Beach Road will be open.
Yeah, you'll be able to access all of the restaurants along the Riverwalk and also along the other side of the intercoastal.
That's
Yeah,
it.
you will. That's correct. All right, thank you guys for that. We have another question here from Andrew Smith. Is what was the justification for only 4 lanes of traffic versus 6? Do the ultimate 2041, 2061 projections not require 6 lanes? So that's a good question. Why are we sticking to 4 lanes rather than making it bigger?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that one. The 4 lanes, along the bridge. The reason why we're sticking to that is because the current configuration that you see out there has no allowance for pedestrian or bicycle traffic to allow for that pedestrian movement across the bridge. So the current configuration as it stands right now is unsafe for pedestrian traffic. So the widening, and based on the traffic studies through the area, there was no need to add additional lanes to accommodate the traffic volumes across US1, but there was a need to widen the bridge to make it safer for pedestrian traffic and those movements over the bridge. And that's that's a big thing that you're going to be seeing once the bridge is constructed, with the observation decks and the locations where people can get up there, view a nice sunset, take a look at the lighthouse, all this added safety improvement and observations for the pedestrians across the bridge to make it a safer movement, not just for pedestrians, but also for oncoming vehicular traffic. But based on the traffic studies, it did not warrant any further widening of through lanes across the bridge.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be an important improvement, those sidewalks. A lot of people have been asking about that. So thank you for that explanation, Scott. Next question we have is from Linda Riccardi. Her question is, will the proposed traffic signal at alternate A1a and Old Dixie Highway be made permanent? Virgil?
All the improvements at Old Dixie Highway and alternate A1a will be permanent. That signal actually will be tied into the alternate A1a and US1 signal, which they'll be sequenced in a way to allow traffic to flow through.
Perfect. Thank you for that response, Virgil. Next question we have is from Dustin Hart. And Dustin's question was, is a new submarine cable being used for power and control of the movable bridge section, or is the existing cable being reused? Virgil or Scott, can you address that?
That's a great question. Sounds like somebody knows a little bit about bridge.
Yeah, they know what bridges is.
Yes, a new submarine cable will be installed between the control house, which is in Pier 5, and on the other side, the south side of the bridge, which is Pier 4.
Everything's new.
Everything is brand new. Thank you guys for that. We have another question here from Ms. Riccardi again, is what is the proposed pile driving method for installing the bridge piles? There's someone else who knows what they're talking about. Virgil or Scott, can you address that?
What was the question? I didn't
So
hear.
pile driving method.
What's the proposed pile driving method for installing the bridge piles?
Well, we're gonna roll this back for a second. So there's two different foundations on this bridge. We have drill shafts and pile driving. Tony, you want to go through in detail?
Okay. Yes, the drill shaft, we're gonna be installing drill shafts on the, I guess will be the north abutment. And those are just gonna be strictly for the north abutment. The rest of the bridge, you know, all will be driven piles. We're gonna excavate and we're gonna drill down to an elevation to where it'll minimize the vibrations as we drive the piles. So, you know, safety and vibration monitoring are the key to maintaining, you know, the existing structures, so, you know, so we don't cause any damage up to them.
So, I mean, what he was saying is we're going down to 55 with the casing. We're going to drill all the material out of the casing, place the pile in the case, probably drive it 20 feet from there, 20, maybe 30 feet, take the case out, and now fill all the voids with clean sand. And that's going to be the majority of what you see that's going to be happening out there at all the piers in the waterway.
So will that pre-drilling, will that help with, like, Tony mentioned it'll help with, you know, reducing vibration. What about noise? Will that make any difference?
Yes, it will, because a lot of what you're drilling through, you know, when you put the piles in the ground, you have to have a certain depth for lateral stability of your foundation. And in order to get down to those depths that we need to, there's a lot of soil layers that you have to go through in order to consider bearing. And some of those layers, you know, have some hard driving through it. So we're going to be drilling through that so that it minimizes noise, it minimizes all your vibration, and so that the only impacts you're going to feel is when we're actually, you know, in the layers that we're considering for bearing. But as far as vibration, obviously, you know, the deeper we go, the less of a vibration, you know, impact you're going to feel. But you will still hear the, you know, the noise of the hammer as we're driving a pile. That we can't.
The duration
is
shorter.
The duration is shorter. Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Instead of hearing a 20-minute or 30-minute duration of hitting on a pile, you're now going to be going 10 minutes or so, for an example.
Perfect. Thank you guys for that explanation. I appreciate it. Okay. Next question we have is from John Hama. His question is, to help with traffic flow, will the Indiantown Road Drawbridge be limited to less openings than currently allowed? Very good question.
Very good. Yeah. Very good question. We don't control of when the Coast Guard allows the drawbridge to be open or closed, but we are going to request, prior to going to the detour, a moratorium of openings between the peak hours for AM and PM. But I can't tell you they're going to approve it right now.
But the request will be made, and you know, we're pretty positive that they'll assist, you know, with the request during this detour phase. They understand the traffic, and it's not just boating traffic. They understand the vehicular traffic impacts. So it's all one team, you know, trying to, you know, reach a common goal.
Absolutely. All right, thank you guys for that response. We have another question from Ms. Capodanno. Is the relatively new fishing pier that Jupiter installed being torn down? I'm wondering if you're referring to the observation deck. Virgil or Scott, can you address that?
Yes, the observation deck will be demolished and will be turned into an artificial reef out in the ocean. We will be putting a new observation deck now underneath the Vascular pier, or underneath the bridge itself, which will be connected to a new river walk that we'll be developing.
Yeah, that's a good rendering right there of the new observation deck that we're putting in.
Looks really nice. Thank you guys for that response. Another question we have is from Alex Dulski. And the question is, what are you doing with the old bridge debris? Where are you taking it? Is there a plan to repurpose it to place it offshore as a marine habitat? That's exactly correct. But Virgil and Scott, can you elaborate on that?
Yes, we've got, Palm Beach County has a permit with DEP for several reef establishment sites, out in the ocean that are connected with this project. So as we're demoing the bridge, we'll make sure that the debris that we take from the bridge will be placed on a barge, be cleaned up, and to make suitable to be placed in the reef of choosing by Palm Beach County under the permit with DEP.
Okay. Very common thing that the department does is work with the county's environmental department to use some of that old material into artificial reefs. It's gone very well on other projects as well. All right. So thank you guys for that response. We have another question from Ms. Young. And her question is, I believe Johnson Brothers is the same contractor doing the Southern Boulevard Bridge. If so, how has that project gone and did they stay on schedule? It's a good question. I don't know if this team can respond to that, but.
Yeah, us as a project team at the CEI, we can't respond to it because we're not involved. But Kyle, you're on the phone.
We have the contractor from Johnson Brothers who's here.
Yep, I can speak to that a little bit. That is correct. We're finishing up the Southern Boulevard Bridge now, and it has gone very well, and it's stayed on schedule. There's been weather and normal things that have changed the final date, but overall the job is on schedule and gone very well.
Thank you for that, Kyle. Another question we have is from Mark Crossley, and his question is, how much notice can you provide prior to required channel closings? Very good question. We try to provide advance notice, but Virgil or Scott, can you address that?
Oh, for Coast Guard, you're talking about a full, I'm assuming they're talking about the full closure or restriction.
For the channel, yes.
Yes, usually the Coast Guard requires 30 days notice of any restriction. If it's a full closure, they sometimes require greater, up to 60 days. And then we'll have to abide with what their requirements are.
In my experience, we're able to provide significant advance notice of any channel closures, Mark. Yes, there will be advance notice provided of any channel restrictions. The next question we have is from Dale Berry. This question was the same as before from another attendee is, will there be changes to the frequency of the list by the Indiantown Drawbridge? And as you all mentioned, that's something that's been requested. And we're still pending a response from the Coast Guard, correct?
Will be requested.
Will be requested.
Yes. Right now, they're not going to approve something that's not going to happen for a year and a half.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right, so we have another question here from Carrie Mulhern. And the question is, heading north on alternate A1a, taking a left turn to Riverside Drive, the traffic backs up on the bridge now because the left turn lane is not long enough. Will the left turn to Riverside Drive be extended? That's a good question, Carrie. Thank you for that. Virgil or Scott, can you address that?
From alternate A1A.
So this is the left turn northbound or southbound?
Heading north, she's saying heading north on A1A, and there's a Riverside Drive, there's a way to turn left onto, turn left onto Riverside Drive.
That's north of the bridge.
North side, the north side alternate
Yes.
A1A, correct?
Alternate A1A, yes.
Let me answer this real quick. I got that.
Um,
So right now, we're not doing any improvements to Riverside Drive. It's something we can look at if it does create a problem later.
Okay.
All of our physical changes to the contractor at the main intersections of alternate A1A, Indiantown US1, Old Dixie Highway, and alternate A1A, and alternate A1A and US1.
Okay. Thank you for that, Virgil. Another question we have here. Just give me a second. The system is a little slow, so I'm trying to scroll up a little bit. This is from Richard Bavilo, and his question is, it's a long question, so just bear with me. It says, I live on Village Boulevard. Has a traffic study been done as to the impact this project will have on residents traveling west on Village Boulevard, trying to make a left turn onto Dixie Highway? Vehicles traveling south on US1 from Hope Sound will be making a right turn onto County Line Road and then making a left turn onto Dixie Highway to avoid the US1 traffic. Without a stop sign or light at Dixie Highway and Village Boulevard, it will almost be impossible to turn left from Village Boulevard onto Dixie Highway. Has anyone studied this potential traffic problem?
Yeah, so I'll answer that. So the traffic studies that are performed for the project analyzed the flow of traffic going through and down and connecting, from our project limits, which is just north of alternate A1A, and connecting it back over to Indiantown Road and going back over to US1. So that traffic study was done. Is also looked at from Old Dixie Highway, taking it from that interchange and the traffic coming in there and going back over alternate A1A and back over to Indiantown Road. So based on those traffic studies and the flow of traffic through the area, the results of those studies is what came up with the addition of turn lanes at the major intersections within the detour route, and also came up with the modification of the Old Dixie Highway and alternate A1A configuration to realign it and move it slightly to the west, and to add signalization improvements at Old Dixie Highway in that intersection for both safety and vehicular movements and turn movements through that area, thus increasing the left turn movement for northbound traffic on alternate A1A to access Indiantown Road. Outside of those project limits, as far as the traffic study, it did not warrant any further changes outside of the improvements that have been made and part of the study and incorporated in this project.
Okay, thank you for that response, Scott. So we actually have a raised hand from William Cole. He wants to speak. So I'm going to go ahead, Mr. Cole, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, and you can go ahead and make your ask your question. You're going to have to unmute yourself, Mr. Cole. Mr. Cope, you should just unmute your microphone so you can speak. Okay, we'll come back to you. Once you unmute yourself, we'll go ahead and take your question. So the next question we have is from Chip Block. And his question is, now there is a dedicated right turn lane from alternate A1A heading east onto US1 to go south. Can we make that lane into Beach Road to alleviate congestion on the second lane that goes straight into Beach Road?
Can you repeat that question?
Sure.
Sounds like they want 2 lanes
But
down.
currently, there is a dedicated right turn lane from alternate A1A heading east onto US1 to go south. Can we make that lane into Beach Road to alleviate congestion on the second lane that goes straight into Beach Road? I think he's asking for a through lane.
So I can say at this meeting, we can't comment on that one or give you an answer, but it's something that we can do research upon to see if it's feasible.
We can follow up with you, Mr. Block, on that question. We'll follow up later. We'll make sure to get back to you. Okay, so we have another question from Geraldine Sligar. And her question is, what arrangements, communications are being made for emergency vehicles going to Jupiter Medical Center and other medical facilities? It's a very good question. Virgil or Scott, can you address that?
We've already met with the town of Jupiter and also the village of Tequesta, their emergency responders, to discuss the best ways to get them through the detour, get them through the construction traffic we have there. Some of the stuff we have discussed with them is dedicated lines to our staff, dedicated lines to the smart work zone, to the TMC, where they could potentially change the signal timing as the emergency vehicles are responding, or bring additional resources that you would normally see on the interstate, bring them into our project corridor so they can respond to incidents and clear out the incidents as fast as possible. So we are working with the local agencies around and from agencies outside throughout the county to try to improve response, improve traffic flow for the emergency responders, so you guys will not see any delays in service.
Okay, thank you for that, Virgil. So as Virgil mentioned, there's been quite a bit of coordination occurring with first responders for some time now. So they're very familiar with the project, and that coordination is going to continue throughout the project. So thank you for that, Virgil. Next question we have is from Charles Payson. His question is, what are the, give me a second, the question box jumped a little bit. Give me a minute. Okay. What are the intended minor repairs to the alternate A1A bridge? Virgil or Scott, can you address?
Yeah,
We'll let Tony answer it.
Okay, thank you. We're going to be doing repairs to the cap on one of the piers that is small, and we're going to be doing some repairs to the deck and joints in the bridge, sealing the decks. But they're very minor in kind, you know.
Yeah. So the pier that Tony's talking about is on the south end of the bridge, the pier close to the water. That's the pier in question that we'll be doing some minor spall repairs and cathodic protection on that pier, and then replacing some of the port seal joints on the upper deck of the bridge. Those are the repairs in itself for the A1A project.
And what the traveling public will see is they'll see some lane shifts on top of the bridge while we're doing these repairs, because everything will be underneath, but we have to shift traffic off of those areas that we're repairing, just because they won't be able to carry the load anymore until we fix them to their final configuration or status.
Okay, great. Thank you for that, Virgil and Tony. Next question we have is from Mark Rosalie. He says, pier cable will need to be more than -15 below MLW per USAC permitting requirements. Can you confirm? Thank you.
Yes, it will be. It actually will be 14 feet below the channel, the bottom of the channel by the Coast Guard requirements.
All right, thank you for that. And next question we have, another question from Linda Riccardi. Her question is, will the Vascular Bridge continue to open upon demand?
I'm assuming she's referring to once it's complete.
Yes, will the Vascular Bridge continue to open upon demand? I believe she means once the new bridge is in place.
Yes.
Right now, it's scheduled to open on demand, but we are going to be talking with the Coast Guard to potentially change that. But it's something that we have to discuss with them later in the life of the project.
Yeah. And just keeping in mind with these improvements that we're doing to the bridge and raising the bridge up, it is reducing the amount of openings by 44%. So there may be justification to go to more of a scheduled time opening. But right now, that decision hasn't been made final.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Commissioner Block, Vice Mayor Block is following up. Can the dedicated right turn lane from A1a to US1 be repurposed for either right turn or straight toward the lighthouse, Beach Road, with a merged traffic sign on Beach Road? I think that's...
Yeah, it potentially could, but it's something that we have to research with DOT and the EOR, so we would have to follow up. I think it's, personally, I think it might be a good idea, but I can't commit to it at this time.
Yeah. Thank you, Virgil. So another question we have is, will there be a staging area for construction materials outside of the project area? If so, where will it be located?
Kyle, can you answer this question for us, please?
Yeah, sure. We'll be staging in a couple locations. One is just south of the job site. It's called Pyatt Place. It's just west of Burt Reynolds Park. There's a small area owned by the town of Jupiter that we're going to be putting an office and have some parking for the project staff. We'll also be staging in the Port of Palm Beach. That's basically a small marine hub for us here in the area, and the rest of the staging will be done on the job site.
Okay, thank you for that, Kyle. Next question we have is from William Fravel. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. His question is there a risk management plan that has identified the highest risk and risk mitigation plans? Virgil or Scott, can you answer that question?
So we have gone through the project and we have identified the items that are going to create the biggest risk. And that the DOT has gone through and they have tried to mitigate some of that risk by going to, or one of the big things is vibration. By going to a different type of technique that's normally used, by putting casing in and drilling down to negative 55 feet, we get to reduce one of the biggest risks that we foresaw in the project.
Yeah, just to follow up with what Virgil was saying, I mean, all this risk assessment was done during the design phase and PD&E phase to analyze the project, analyze the intent, the improvements, the risk, to come up with the design that has now moved forward for this project. And like Virgil said, you know, a lot of the biggest threats out there is vibration with towns, you know, local historical museum and lighthouse and surrounding communities, and putting that vibration monitoring plan and going through the extra efforts to ensure that the project is properly monitored and safeguarded against those aspects, while also working with the town of Jupiter's noise ordinance. Also looking at the potential, artifacts, during excavation, historical artifacts, when we do our roadway excavations, and having our plans in place for that, working with the DOT assessment coordinators, for that. And all that is in place and part of the project documents that were issued for this project.
All right. Thank you, Virgil and Scott, for that very detailed response. Thank you. It's very helpful. Next question we have is from Charles Payson. Will U-turns be allowed at the new Old Dixie light for those heading north on alternate A1A who need to turn around and head south on alternate A1A to accommodate people leaving businesses on alternate A1A?
I would say it's not going to be allowed. The U-turn is going to be restricted due to the constraints of the roadway. If you are in that predicament, I recommend that you head to East River Drive and head down East River Drive to do the U-turn with right turn movements. It's going to be a lot safer movement and possibly a lot easier movement to head that direction.
Yeah, and the purpose of what we're doing at Old Dixie is, currently it's not really a safe condition as it stands right now. So, those movements that are currently existing, when we move the intersection at Old Dixie over and realign it and increase the left turn movement to access Old Dixie there and signalize the intersection, all that is being done to improve the safety of the movements and the flow of traffic through that intersection. So to back up what Virgil was saying, I don't believe that U-turns will be allowed at that time. There'll be dedicated turn movements for that.
Okay. Thank you, Virgil and Scott, for that. We have another question here from Ms. Capodanno. Her question is there anything to stop drive-through traffic that we currently have on the east-west access road outside Jupiter Cove condos? Afraid we will see increased traffic from southbound US1 traffic or northbound Riverside Drive using this shortcut. This will have a serious impact on residents of Jupiter Cove condos.
We can deter people using MOT devices, but it really is going to come down to enforcement of the rules that are going to be in place. The signage for northbound on Riverside Drive is going to be signed for through traffic only. And then there's going to be no northbound movement once you pass the entrance to Jupiter Cove, that little east-west driveway there. Everything that is going to be on US1, all of that is going to be under construction still, with a dedicated area specifically for the residents of Jupiter Cove and the businesses to get in and out. So going that way is not going to add any additional time frame to their travel, because it's going to be so restricted of moving through it.
Yeah. And to back up what Virgil was saying, we can't stop traffic from moving through a particular area because we have to maintain access to the local communities and businesses through the area at all times during construction. But what we do in these local side roads is that we do sign it to where it is for through traffic only.
Thank you. And that will have barricades there as well. Is that right?
We'll have barricades closing the northbound movement just north of their drive. And then if we have to take additional steps to alleviate some of the congestion, we will, or prevent some of the movements from happening. We will also work with the town police in Tequesta to try to improve the enforcement in that area.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you guys for that. Next question we have is from Linda Riccardi, and her question is, due to the big increase in eastbound left turns at the intersection of Beach Road and US1, did you consider installing a third eastbound left turn lane temporarily? There is not going to be much of a demand for the eastbound right turn lane, and the eastbound through movements are very low today. So the eastbound right turn lane could be converted to an eastbound through right turn lane.
You know, at that Beach Road, I mean, if you're looking at the picture that's on the screen, it's Beach Road right there. That right turn, our detour is going to be right there. It will, you know, there'll be local traffic that will be allowed to access if people need to get to Riverside Drive or through that area, you know, to access the local communities there. But the through traffic will pretty much just be going straight to alternate A1a and detouring around because from that intersection south is all under construction during the detour.
And then if she was referring to after construction, post-construction, there's not going to be a third lane added, third left turn movement added there.
Yeah, traffic studies do not warrant it at this time.
Just wanted to unmute myself. So at this time, we don't have any other questions yet, but let's just see if anyone else has any other questions they would like to ask. I'm just going to go through real quickly to make sure we captured everyone's questions. You know, one of the things people might ask is, you know, will they, how many, you know, if they expect to see a lot of barges out there. I'm sure with the bridge project, people might see some of those barges and wonder about those. Do we know where those are going to be, you know, staged possibly?
Kyle, this is another one for you.
Yeah, sure. So the nature of the project, it's a heavy marine job. There'll be barges and cranes up there in and around the bridge, basically, you know, all around the entire project. So an example, up there in the community now, there's an outfit working on the railroad bridge. They have similar equipment to ours. Another person here asked a question about us working in the area at Southern Boulevard, and anybody that's been in Palm Beach County and driven over Southern has seen the equipment that we use, and it'll be consistent with that. It's pretty much standard marine bridge building equipment, and it'll be up and around the entire site. It is a heavy project, but that's pretty much what folks will see.
Okay, Mr. Block, I see that your hand is raised. I'm trying to, there you are, trying to find you. There you go. And I'm going to unmute you. You want to go ahead and ask your question?
Okay. Thanks. I thought I'd try to explain what I was asking before. That right turn lane from alternate A1a heading east and onto US1 going south is almost unused now. I want to find out if we can make that a lane that you can either turn right, which is problematic because of the construction, or go straight through toward the lighthouse with a merge sign on the other side of US 1 into one lane on Beach Road. And I believe that should be a permanent solution, since the majority of the traffic is to make a left turn from alternate A1A onto US 1. Is that an adequate explanation?
We'll look into it.
Yes, we will look into it. I completely understand. Basically, you want to turn the outside lane, which is currently configured to a right turn lane, to a right turn plus through lane on the east side of US 1 for alternate A1A, and then or the west side, the west side, and then on the east side, potentially stripe that as a through lane plus a merge lane once you get to go along Beach Road and make that turn north.
Correct.
Okay, we'll bring that to DOT, that request, and then we possibly also going to have to bring it to Palm Beach County because we don't maintain Beach Road, but we'll see what we can do for you.
Thank you. I would be happy to help with Palm Beach County, to lobby them.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll find out DOT's position and we'll get back with you.
Thank you, and thank you for this very illuminating webinar. It's been very helpful.
Okay, thank you, Chip, and thanks for muting yourself. I appreciate it. We have another question here from Mr. Fravel. He says, publishing these questions and answers. So yes, we're publishing the questions and answers, and just so everyone knows as well, this meeting is being recorded and it will be posted on the website. Just give us a day or two, and so you'll be able to go back and look at the entire meeting. So we have another question here from Lori Dubay. Her question is, has any schedule been established for the replacement of the railroad bridge alongside A1A, and will that be completed before the US1 Bridge Project? Thank you. Virgil or Scott might not be able to answer that question because we're not, that bridge is owned by the FEC, but Scott, you want to try to address that?
Sure. Yeah, I know we've had talks with FEC about when they're looking at completing the railroad bridge. Right now, they've been telling us it'll be completed sometime in 2023. But we don't have their schedule, and so we can't give a confirmed date to the public as far as what the actual time frame they're looking at. But we have preliminary estimates, from them that they're looking to be complete with that bridge by 2023.
So, but she's asking if it's being replaced. I don't know.
Yeah, it's under construction right now. The railroad bridge, yeah, it's under construction right now, and it's scheduled to be completed by 2023.
The DOT's alternate A1A bridge is not scheduled to be replaced.
Right. The railroad bridge is being replaced as we speak.
Okay. Thank you for that response. They stated they will be replacing it. Thank you, Mr. Bay. Yep. Okay. I also have a raised hand from Linda Riccardi. Linda, did you want to speak? I can unmute you. Go ahead.
Yeah, the question that I had previously, I think maybe it wasn't clear. I was asking about those triple eastbound lefts at Beach Road and US 1 to be temporary. similar to the question by the other gentleman about the eastbound through and the eastbound right being combined. So I was asking if you'd ever looked at it for your temporary, while you've got your detour in place, if you ever considered those triple lefts.
Yeah, so I'll answer that. So based on the traffic studies done in the area, the only additional turn lanes that were required at that intersection were for adding an additional turn lane in the southbound direction on US1 to alternate A1a. And that's what we're doing. So we're basically reducing the lane widths and adding an additional turn lane for the detour. And that was as a result of the traffic study done that analyzed the traffic through that area. So no additional improvements are slated to be done as far as adding any additional turn lanes at that intersection, other than the ones that I just mentioned.
Correct. Right now, the double lefts, which are existing, a straight, and then a right turn movement in the eastbound direction of alternate A1a.
So to expand upon that, the design team did look at a third left, and if you northbound US1 is 2 lanes and a bike lane that is brand new, well, relatively new, and the operations of having 3 lefts to receive by 2 lanes was just not workable, so we stuck with the 2 lefts. In addition to the traffic studies, backing up, having the 2 lefts as well. So it's really from a standpoint, not to expand into the bike lane, and receiving 2 lanes from 2 lanes makes operationally more sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Linda. So we have another question from Ms. Capodanno. She says, one last question. We at Jupiter Cove Condos are currently experiencing the alternate A1a bridge improvements, pile driving, that shakes at least our western building, anticipating a similar impact on at least our easternmost building. Who should we call to make sure no issues with building integrity? That's a very good question that Suzanne is asking, very important.
So, Suzanne, I believe probably Angel has already reached out to a lot of the residents and the community HOA representative. We're supposed to be doing a pre-construction survey of the building that's closest to the new bridge and also the carport there. And we're going a step further by putting vibration monitors on the 2 structures to be able to record any vibrations that are occurring during our pile driving or during our drilling or during any of the roadway compactions.
I'll go a step further and say that, the construction that we're doing compared to the construction that's ongoing right now, they're 2 different agencies. And we're applying different techniques with our construction methods to help reduce the amount of vibration, effects being attributed to pile driving. As Tony mentioned earlier, with installing casings in the ground and pre-drilling and pre-setting the piles in to minimize the amount of driving through there and the amount of vibration impact that the local areas will see or observe during those pile driving operations. Now, it does not mean that all vibration impacts will cease and assist. I mean, you're still going to feel some, but I can guarantee you that with the methods of construction that we're employing out on this project, that the impacts will be greatly reduced from what you're currently being witness to at this time.
We don't know what the requirements are for the railroad.
There's probably no requirements for the railroad. And the the DOT does take this very seriously, and they've made this one of the most stringent specifications from the contractor that I've ever seen. So they do take it seriously. If you guys have any issues or you want to talk to us, Angel will be the point of contact. We're more than willing to meet you guys during the life of the construction project and observe anything that you're seeing, and going from there.
Okay. Thank you for those responses, Virgil and Scott. I have an environmental question from Jennifer Laxner. It's how will manatee and sea turtles be protected during construction? Virgil or Scott, can you address that?
We'll start off with manatees. During any marine activities that includes moving a barge, the contractor is required to have a dedicated spotter for manatees. If a manatee is seen, we have to cease construction for at least 30 minutes so the manatee can leave. We are also not allowed to do any of this work at night because we have to be able to observe what is coming into or through the construction project. When it comes to sea turtles' biggest thing is lights, being attracted to lights at night. All of the lights have already been through and approved by FWC, Florida Wildlife Commission. They reviewed all of the plans. They have specified what type of bulbs we're going to be having to use, shrouds that prevent any of the light from that's going on the bridge from shedding off of the bridge. During construction, the contractor has to point his lights away from the water when he has any type of nighttime activities, which will be very limited to maybe 1, 2, or 3 operations during the entire life.
Yeah. And all these are special conditions with the associated permits that were obtained for this project that we have to ensure strict adherence to through the life of the project.
Very good. Thank you guys for that. We have another follow-up question from Lori Dubay. She says, I'm not showing on the present map, but maybe we can move it a little bit to the southern side of the bridge. She asked, what will be the traffic pattern on the A1a US1 area?
So traffic from A1a, US1 at the detour, that traffic will be able to access US1 and it will be able to go south to Indiantown Road, back to alternate A1a to get to the other side of the bridge. If you need to access, any of the restaurants, if you need to get to 1000 North, for instance, you can go and still access 1000 North. You just won't be able to go across the bridge. So in order to go across the bridge to access anything over in Tequesta, you have to make that left turn to go through the detour route for US1 to Indiantown Road, back to alternate A1a, and then back to the other side of the bridge to US1.
Now, this is specifically what we're talking about is during the detour phase, when we close the bridge. Outside of that, the bridge will still be open and US1 will still be open for traffic.
All right, thank you for that response. I want to go through here one more time to see, make sure we addressed some of the questions that popped up. Just give me a minute here. I want to appreciate everyone taking the time this evening to log in and get more information about the project. We certainly appreciate that. We have one more question here, is how will turbidity be controlled during construction?
So turbidity will be controlled using multiple different best management practices. On land, we'll be using state turbidity barrier, We'll be using what they call sock drains to prevent material from washing down and washing into the pristine estuary that's there. In the water, we'll be using, depending on the depth, either staked turbidity barrier again, or we're going to be using floating turbidity barrier. At certain locations, we will have to use 2 layers or 3 layers of best management practices to confine the turbidity to a localized area, let's say right around where we're driving a pile. During these operations, we're required by the permits to test the water quality above and below. I use above and below, it's basically prior to, depending on the tides, of getting what the background is, and then getting what, as the current goes, what the other side of the water quality is. That difference has to be 0. So we're not allowed to do any turbidity in the waterway at all. So everything has to be confined, everything. So if we have to add more best management practices, more floating turbidity barriers, or change the techniques, we will have to do that as the project goes on.
Okay, well, thank you for that. So with that, I'm just let's wait a couple more minutes and let's see, we still have some people online. Let's see if there's any other questions that they might have. This has been some great questions we actually received this evening. A lot of informed residents, the stakeholders who are very interested in the project. So, we appreciate you all tuning in and listening to us. Well, asking the questions, then, being very accommodating in our responses. So if there's not any more questions, it doesn't look like we have any. Wait a few more minutes. No more questions. So at this moment, we're going to go ahead and end the question and answer portion of the meeting. Again, we want to thank you all again for attending. If you feel like your questions haven't been answered, feel free to reach out to the project team at any time. Thank you.
This concludes the question and comment portion of our meeting. If your question was not responded to during the open discussion, our project team will follow up with you. All comments and questions submitted are part of the public record for this virtual meeting. You will receive a follow-up email within 24 to 48 hours with a link to the recording of today's meeting. The meeting recording also will be available on the project website. Throughout the project representatives will be available to address any questions or concerns you may have. We hope you will complete the survey providing feedback about the meeting. On behalf of the Florida Department of Transportation and our presenters, thank you for joining us today, and remember to travel safely through work zones.
Thank you, everyone. Well done, guys.